And a very good day to you, and welcome to the program. It's just so good to have you on the farm. Shalom, peace be with you today. I hope you're sitting down, relaxed with a nice cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and we're going to speak to you just for 5 minutes, that's all. But we've got a special message for you today. If we go to the New Testament, to the book of Acts, chapter 23, and one verse. Verse 1. Then Paul, looking earnestly at the council, said, Men and brethren, I have lived in all good conscience before God until this day. Good conscience. Do you have a good conscience? Somebody's sitting there and saying to me, Angus, what is a conscience? Well, I'll explain to you. I looked up the Oxford Dictionary. A conscience is a person's moral sense of right and wrong. A conscience causes us to hold high standards, to take care of good values, beliefs, and principles of life. That's why we need a conscience. I've heard some people say your conscience is the Holy Spirit. Because often when you want to do something, right, and you know it's wrong, and there's something inside you says, don't go there, don't do that, it's not yours. That's a conscience. And then, of course, the problem is a seared conscience. What does that mean? It's a conscience that's actually got no more feeling, and you just disregard it, and you do your own thing. And when you've got a conscience like that, you are in trouble. You see, a good conscience earns the right to be respected. Now, we've said it before on this program, haven't we? People don't necessarily have to like you, but they must respect you. Folk who have a clear conscience are people like Paul the Apostle, one of my great heroes in the Bible. He was fearless because people who have a good conscience walk in truth. They have nothing to hide. So when they stand up, what you see is what you get, see? They're not ducking and diving. Jesus said in John chapter 17 and verse 17, sanctify them by your truth. Your word is truth. If you and I start living according to this book, we will have a good conscience. Because this book is the only book you need to read to find out how you need to live. Now, I want to tell you about a man who had a seared conscience, a man who didn't regard what he was doing anymore. He was one of the 12. He was one of the disciples. He was a man that walked with Jesus Christ for 3 years, night and day. He saw Jesus walk on the water. He saw Jesus feed the poor, the needy, and heal the sick. Who was that man? His name was Judas Iscariot. Judas Iscariot had a seared conscience. Matthew chapter 26 and verse 15. Judas Iscariot betrayed the Son of God for 30 pieces of silver. And he thought that he'd be fine after that, but no. He had no peace. He had absolutely no tranquility. He had nothing. He even went back to the high priest. He gave them their silver back, and he still had no peace because his conscience had let him down. Eventually he went and took a rope, he hung it around his neck, he put it over a tree, and he jumped off and he hung himself. And so, folks, let's listen to our conscience, and then we won't make as many mistakes. Jesus bless you, and have a wonderful day.